The only time we had her in actually nicer outfit, it was for the wedding. For Nathan, we actually added a pair of pants for him because he needed a stunt. We were hoping that we don't have to make holes in the coat. And when they did the stunt scene on a tower, because she's wearing a harness too, we actually shot her scene when we were prepping 1874.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Heart in Motion podcast. I'm thrilled to welcome back to the podcast Barbara Gregusova. How are you doing, Barbara?
I'm good, thank you.
You're surviving right now?
Kind of.
So, for those of you that don't know, Barbara is not only the costume designer for When Calls the Heart, but she is also the costume designer for Hope Valley 1874. Last year, you talked about the enormous project of putting the Gatsby party together. So, I'm curious, was there an event or even a scene this year that you would say was comparable? In the scope of your work or your team's work to the Gatsby party?
I think it would probably be the first two episodes with the fire,
Okay.
because that was basically like the biggest two episodes like we ever started with, right?
Yeah.
So, and considering that, every year you also have to refit everybody. So you do the same work which you do every season, plus you have basically, this massive block of stunts and
Mhm.
multiples, and you don't really have, like extra time to prep, right? Like everything, yeah, like it was just basically everything happening kind of like really quick or at the same time, right? So plus we had new characters and yeah, like multiples are always, I would say it's not a problem, but it's a lot of work, right? Because let's say as soon as you have for all the main characters, like you need multiples in pants and vests and, shirts and everything, but will get dirty. And then we actually were not having even doubles. We actually had triples, I think, for all the guys. You would think that they are easier, but somehow like the fashion in stores also shifted. So it was really hard to find like the shirts for men, which actually look more like historically accurate and they don't look too modern. I think it's also like the fabrics you are finding in the stores and the color palettes, like, and then also you have to think about like you have this whole cast, together, and when you're buying multiples, like give each person like a different color palette. That's another thing, right? Like, but to get a multiples is also a problem because, like we ordered a vest for I think Bill and only two showed up. Like one didn't even like we needed three and one didn't even arrive or something like that, right? And then you have pants, and that was actually the same thing. Just finding like the pants which look still, historically accurate or as close to the look we are going for, it's becoming kind of harder and harder, I would say. But yeah, like it was just a lot. Like it was, yeah, definitely like it was like a really big two episodes right off the bat, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we just keep going. So yeah, it was just like a roller coaster whole season.
So started out pretty strong as far as like magnitude of work, and not just because you're doing multiples, but there were a lot of people
Oh
in
yeah.
those scenes. So it's not just multiples for a few people, but you had like the whole town involved in the fire.
Yeah, well, actually, that was another thing that we discussed early on. Like, we cannot really afford time-wise nor budget-wise to do multiples for lots of cast,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
So the cast, which let's say had multiples already in their closets, and I was like, okay, we can reuse it. Then we reuse that, right? Like, luckily, let's say Lucas, he has the same shirt, say six times, right? So
Yeah.
you just, you can dirty one up. But like when it comes to Amanda, she had a blouse. Actually, she had two blouses, which we needed to dirty up at the end. And like you sometimes not you're not sure if the dirt will come off. So even if you're sacrificing something, you want to sacrifice something which you will not be feeling sorry about if
Yeah.
you can, clean it up.
Yeah. Wow. And you start out the season that way, and it just kind of sets the trajectory for the whole season, I imagine.
Yeah, you just basically, as soon as you start shooting, like you're basically nonstop, right?
Yeah.
So you cannot really stop. So yeah, we are just going.
And so on top of that, we've got Elizabeth, Nathan, Allie, and LJ. They start out in Cape Fullerton. Comes back, we see Elizabeth, and she's got, a different silhouette going on, which makes so much sense because, she's been in Cape Fullerton. It's the 1920s. Her fashion is changing a little bit. So, can you talk about the decision to kind of change her look this season and bring in some new pieces?
Well, originally, I actually didn't want to change her look to begin with because to me, I felt like, okay, well, maybe she's in Cape Fullerton, but she's a mom, she has a sick boy, and it just didn't make sense to me to actually have her,
Yeah.
style change or that she would go on a shopping spree or anything
That's
like
not been her focus, right? She's there to take care of her
that.
child.
So that would be what, let's say, I think more realistic way to do it.
Mhm.
But, you're in a movie world or television world, so what you would do in reality doesn't really work. So when we discussed with Erin the season 13, I know she wanted to wear like more dresses. I didn't know there was more deeper thought behind that because she didn't share that information going forward. So so, I mean, like we always expand her closet, but yeah, like when it comes to, let's say, the first look, like, yes, it does make sense that she would have something new, but, thinking about, like you have a child, the fashion is not really the most, important thing in your life, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I know it from my personal experience, but even that's why, let's say when we had Rosemary, right? Like that was the same thing. She had a child, you don't have time to worry about what you are wearing, right? So like her skirts short became shorter in sort of more natural way,
Mhm.
like how, like like also like the way the scripts were written and everything. So there wasn't even time to shorten them earlier, let's say for her, right? Because like she's so busy and we were so busy, like, there wasn't even a moment to do like the smooth transition, when maybe everybody was talking about it, but it wouldn't be smooth. It would be just like out of nowhere, right? Because
Yeah.
we also, that was, I think, season 12, and we picked up, let's say, we picked up basically where we left off the previous season, right? So there wasn't a reason to change her silhouette, right? So this time, let's say for Elizabeth, since there was, a few months in between, we could change stuff, right? So the time worked. She's in different city, and yeah, and it's usually what we find. And, like her dresses were basically combination of two dresses and then putting them together, reconstructing them, and then just like, seeing like how it's going to work, right?
Yeah. Okay, so you talked about always expanding her wardrobe. I mean, it's obvious she's Elizabeth. I noticed this season that, for example, like Nathan and Allie both had more minutes on screen. And that's just, when you count the minutes, there were more of them. So when that happens, and you don't always, get the scripts that far out, but is that on your radar that if they're going to have more scenes, they need more costumes? How does that work?
I wouldn't say that's really how it works. It's
Okay.
basically, like when we start each season, you kind of are looking through their closets, what we
Okay.
have, and really depends about like how their size shifted, right? Like who is growing, who is getting smaller, who is getting bigger, because everybody's fluctuating, right? Like it's basically like every human being, like you go up and down in size, right? Based on different things which are happening in your life. So one day you can be one size and even like next week you can be a different size. So it really depends, like, and it's not even like for Ellie or Nathan, but it's really about like each character, okay, like what fits, and then you do the fitting, and certain things are like, well, these look probably too dated, and then you think about the character, like, okay, can she still have it in a closet or no, right? But also you don't we don't really have a budget that we can just like suddenly, like let's say if we take even Molly, right? Like she has some higher color blouses. Like should we now just suddenly like get rid of them? Like it doesn't make sense, right? Like we
Mhm.
just don't have that capacity, right? So, and I think all our characters have really great items in their closets, like which were collected over the years. And even as, like they don't have, let's say some of them don't have lots of money. Like you wouldn't just throw stuff out because now it's 20s, right? Like there has to be like a smooth transition, right?
Mhm.
So like let's say for Ellie, we knew that she's actually also, like she was in Cape Fullerton. So I wanted her to start a new dress, which I don't know if that was also what, like I don't know if her new dress happened because we gave a dress to Elizabeth right now, but it kind of makes sense, just like, okay, well, if one has it something new, the other one probably should have something new as well, right? Or I know for Nathan, we actually added a pair of pants for him because he needed a stunt scene. So we specifically actually ordered those, and they were more historically accurate to the ones he's wearing on a daily basis, right? So he was really excited about those. And I was really excited about those too because I never ordered from this website before. And they were really like corduroy and really cool. I didn't even know if he
Like the
liked,
dark brown. Are you talking about the dark brown ones?
yeah, the
Yeah,
dark
we
brown ones.
yeah.
Yeah, so it really, yeah, like expanding their closet really depends. Like sometimes what is written in the scripts and what we need, but sometimes, like maybe he rips the shirt. I think he ripped one time the red one, and I'm like, okay, I need another red one in a closet.
Yeah. So this is when I need to pause for a minute talking about fitting and address the fact that you gifted us, or I'll say me, with a nice linen shirt from Nathan in the fitting. So thank you very much, Barbara.
You're welcome. Yeah, I think they used it for one of the scenes too. I
You,
don't know.
yeah, it was in the
Yeah,
grilling scene when he's at the grill.
yeah. So that was intentional.
I'm going to thank you for that. We picked up on it. Also, I just want to add, since we always want to just say thanks, the blue vest equally like as much as the linen shirt. So just chalk that one up to a win as well. So
I would remember which blue vest it was. I mean, he doesn't have that many, but
he's got a great blue vest when he decides to shave his mustache.
well, you guys remember more
I'll
than
send you the
me.
pic. I'll send you
Sounds
the
good.
pic, Barbara. Okay, so we've got, you're so good about telling us about like it's not just about putting a good outfit on something, on somebody. It needs to make sense. It needs to tell a story. You're color coordinating, you're doing all that. We get a big proposal this season. So I'm curious the thinking that went into, okay, what are Elizabeth and Nathan going to wear? It's the proposal, and not only that, but the end of the season, the four of them are going to be walking through the field. So, what was your thinking behind those moments as well?
I mean, for the proposal, we knew that we are going to do stunts. So it was really, again, like, okay, what we can find in the multiples.
Yeah.
And we knew that Erin or Elizabeth needs to wear a dress for sure. So, and there was question of if we are able to find something in the multiples and make it work for us, or if we have to build something from scratch in multiples, which basically is completely different. You're looking at completely different timing, right?
Yeah.
And also like how much fabric you are going to need, and it's completely different beast. It's easier to build one dress sometimes than, multiples for whatever reasons, right? So I was browsing on internet and I actually found a dress on Zara website,
Wow.
and I ordered six of them because basically we were building one dress out of two, and we needed one for Stan, one for Elizabeth, and then we needed one as a backup just in case, right? So we basically, yeah, rebuilt that dress, but it was just a very lucky find, because it was like still working in her color palette, and it
Hmm.
had enough detail and fancy lace. And so it was just, yeah, it was just like a lucky find. Like you just never know, right? Like,
Yeah.
but it kind of also sometimes when you find these pieces, it gives you better production value because the detail which the dress already had and the fabric, like you couldn't really find something like that in a store
Hmm.
because like the stores are still limited, right? Like unless you have access to all the fabric stores in the world, we are basically limited in what is in Vancouver, right? So And unfortunately, it is limited, right? And so it's always nice to find these pieces which we can basically make work for us because you are just adding like better production value, right? Like because even like if you have rouge detail or anything which takes time, right? Like we just don't have enough people to do those type of details. So if you find an item which already has the detail, it's just, yeah, it's like a little miracle, right? So
Yeah. And so then she had a coat on, right? So you have to get
yeah.
multiples of the coat as
Then
well.
actually, we built just one
Okay.
coat. I wanted to build the multiples, and I don't really know how because yeah, like it's so long time. No, it's kind of a long time ago for me. Yeah, so I had a fabric for the coat, which we ended up building, and you ended up seeing on a screen, and there wasn't enough for two coats. So I definitely wanted to build multiples, and there was another fabric, but it didn't really match the dress as perfectly as this coat. So I think then we decided with Erin that we will just go for it and use just one coat. And then we were just hoping, I think, then when they did the stunt scene on a tower, because she's wearing a harness too. So we were hoping that we don't have to make holes in the coat. So, yeah, so it was just like, yeah, so it was just like these hopes, right? Like for
Yeah.
Nathan, I ordered him the suit in multiples, and we again didn't know like exactly like, where the hall needs to go. And obviously, sometimes you're not shooting in a sequence, so you have to think about that. And, and then the fabric of the coat on Elizabeth's coat was kind of a little sensitive. So you're just always worried about like, how is it going to survive going up and down the stairs multiple times or, like whatever they are doing in a scene. I think it was totally fine, but like even the fabrics, they like to get wobbly really quickly sometimes. And then for the last scene, I really would need to see a picture actually, because
Nathan's got a sweater on. Is that the first time he's worn a sweater?
oh, yes. No, it's not the first time. I'm sure he had a sweater before, long
Okay.
time ago. I think it was, but okay, I remember the sweater now. Um, I think I don't know what is Elizabeth wearing in that scene because I don't remember actually.
Okay. So she's wearing the green skirt with with the trim and the buttons around it. And
Okay.
Allie's wearing like and everything translates on screen differently than what you have, but like maybe a green dress with the white kind of collar up here.
Okay.
And then she's got her sweater on. And then LJ's actually wearing like a blue kind of like vest. And then Nathan has on his sweater that buttons up.
Is Elizabeth wearing a sweater?
She's wearing a white, like a cream shirt
Oh,
tucked in.
she's wearing the coat.
She's got a brown coat on, or a
Oh, you
tote.
mean Elizabeth has a brown coat. No,
Yeah, it's
Elizabeth
like
has a
a
coat on.
what?
Elizabeth has a coat on, right?
Yeah, she's got a coat on and it's like a cream taupe
Okay.
light. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I remember sort of. Um, I think because we were going to the fall, I definitely wanted Nathan in a sweater because we didn't done that before. I was thinking because we were going, like we were basically finishing the season in a fall. So I wanted him in a sweater. And then for Ellie, yeah, I kind of wanted them to be in a same color palette in a way, all of them together like a family. I know for Erin, when it came to the coat, it was really kind of last minute addition because I think there was a potential of maybe her wearing a sweater instead of a coat, and we didn't know like if the coat is going to fit properly.
Hmm.
And then yeah, but I mean everything is always like, like there is lots of thought going through what they're going to wear. Unfortunately, a few months later, I don't remember what the
Yeah.
exact details were.
In the moment, it's
No,
important.
because like even when I do a lineup and we are dressing for a scene one character, let's say Elizabeth and Nathan, and then we are so if I want to dress them, then I go in a script to all their scenes and looking which characters they are interacting with and what they are doing to for me to make sense what they are going to be wearing in that scene. And then sometimes it happens that you put something in a scene and then you realize like, oh, but this outfit would be better for this day because they are,
Mm.
like because maybe Elizabeth is wearing something that day and oh, like this would be cuter there. But like, yeah, like all of the characters have to work together. And, like sometimes I'm like, oh, like it sometimes does happen, like you establish somebody, right, in blue, let's say, and then I'm doing lineup and I'm like, oh, I would like to have this character in blue. And then I realize, well, but this character is already blue and they will meet together, so they cannot be in blue. So it's just like, there's lots of like parts.
Lots of moving parts happening. It's like a
Yeah.
puzzle.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes if I can, I like, especially if we are doing like a big ensemble scenes, I try to do the lineup for entire scene as soon as possible because I know that, even like let's say when we are already shooting and the costume pieces are on set, that means when I'm doing lineup, I have to go through our computer system and looking up like what they are wearing or, like, and then and I don't really have it in front of me, right? So I can just look at everything in the same time. And I kind of prefer doing that, like to have all the costumes there when, I'm doing the lineup. So I try to be as fast as possible or effective, But yeah, there is definitely lots of thinking behind everybody, what they're wearing when, which nobody knows about.
So, thinking about the women this season, is there an outfit that just comes to your mind right off that you're really proud of that you liked showcasing this season?
I don't think ever like I don't know if there's ever one outfit because it's like when I do even fitting with Erin, right? Like I'm just like, oh, this is my favorite skirt, and then Erin is like, but you have this other favorite
Yes.
skirt.
Yes.
So I have like some favorites which I like to use or recycle or like or
Yeah.
try to use if I can, and they still work. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I definitely liked Brooke Shields' wardrobe.
Yes.
That was
Loved it.
because we didn't expect her to actually coming back this season. So, that was and also we were shooting her scenes before we were actually shooting the block.
Yeah.
So it was again like, you think like, oh, we can breathe now, let's say after the fire block. And then we are like, oh no, we now have to dress Brooke Shields because she's coming earlier than, we were supposed to, we would normally originally shoot her, right? Because of her schedule, I think. So, and then also her daughter was in one scene too. So, and they always, like unfortunately, the timing and scheduling and everything, they always arrive the day before they go to camera. So it has to be planned accordingly, and you never know, like, oh, is going to fit? And, like, is she going to like the direction I'm going with? Because we don't really have a chance to talk ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
But Brooke is always very lovely to work with. So I'm just happy, like it works out. Like for her wardrobe, actually, I knew what I wanted to do, and we did pictures of her wardrobe on mannequins.
Got it.
So for like the approval from the network, we basically dressed the mannequin in the looks I wanted to try on Brooke Shields ahead of time, that basically they were already pre-approved and I didn't have to really worry about the, like approvals. Like if there was something they didn't like, we were able to catch it right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the sweater she was wearing because that was actually really lucky find. And yeah, when it comes to sweaters, it's really hard to find, like especially with, like everything being so synthetic and, like it's just not, naturally made and knitted. It's
Yeah.
so hard to find stuff which actually could work for the period, or you could think that it was made during,
Mm-hmm.
1920s.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just really happy to finding this sweater. It was actually from Simon's. And then I know that we built her the skirt, and Hallmark I think they were not sure if she will want to wear a skirt because she was always, wearing pants before, and the only time we had her in actually nicer outfit, it was for the wedding.
Mm.
But she really loved the skirt look. And then we tried to recycle a few of her pieces from her first season with us. So unfortunately, her closet was dismantled. So then we were actually trying to find the pieces or when they ended up or where are they hiding in our storage. So we found like her vests and the blouses. So that was just more kind of like, like just, like she still is wearing the clothes which she used to wear before.
That's crazy that you're able to find some of her old pieces.
I mean, I know we have it. I just because we didn't know she's going to come back. It
Yeah,
wasn't like it was stored for a certain time period, and after
yeah,
certain time period, I'm usually told I can, recycle the pieces, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah. And do you like when you say recycle, how often are you like reusing the fabric, turning it into something else? Like what does recycle mean?
well, I mean, when it comes to fabrics, that usually the fabric belongs to the character.
Yeah,
So I'm not usually, like if somebody had certain fabric, and maybe if it would be like a green corduroy, you could potentially see it on a number of different characters because it's
yeah,
a corduroy, right? It's not something specific. But if it's like Elizabeth fabric, you wouldn't find it on somebody else because it's her fabric. And if somebody has their fabric, it basically goes into their box and it stays there until we need it for, like basically if we have to alter the look, right? Because we actually have to go through those boxes quite a lot, especially if somebody fluctuates in sizes, right? Like, or we have to reconstruct something, or when we are doing the skirts, right? Like if we are shortening them, then we usually need you call it reminiscence, right, of the
yeah.
fabrics, right? So we actually, yes, so we keep all those fabrics, but when it comes to outfits, let's say I mean, I know that Hearties already noticed that one of the Brooke Shields outfits was recycled and it was actually the wedding look, right? So we recycled it on Lady Villain, which I forgot her name a few epi seasons back.
Oh, on Lucas's Lady Villain?
Yes, it was reconstructed, right? For Lucas's Lady Villain, it was reconstructed.
Jeanette.
Janet, yes. So, but let's say if it's like, like male characters or kids. Like the kids usually are going from the oldest and then it's like hand-me-downs, right?
Yeah.
If it makes sense. I mean, we were doing that this season on the kids who were, in the fire or, they came from what was it? The kid was it Cape
From
Follow?
Benson Hills.
Oh, Benson Hills, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the kids who came from Benson Hills, right? Like they got recycled clothes from different characters.
That makes sense. Okay, so then you've got two fantastic costumes this year for Rosemary. The one for the National Park grand opening. Loved that. And then you've got her directing outfit. So those are very distinct for those specific scenes. Those go in the closet now and they just stay there like in your mind like I mean cuz that does a lot of work and they're gorgeous. So they're just there in case they're needed later.
I mean, the skirt for the green outfit, the opening, the national park opening. Um, I mean, the skirt already existed.
Okay.
So when we discussed it with Pascal, she had the idea, the inspiration from the movie, which I'm not going to name right now because
But
I
it was
don't.
for Shelley Long. So I
Yes.
remember, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so she showed me the picture. I'm like, okay, yeah, like we can, like we can make this happen. And then obviously we couldn't do the same color palette because that color palette wouldn't look good on Pascal, right? And it's also not her character's color palette. So then I was like, okay, well, I was looking at I think I was looking at like, because usually, like, I was like, okay, well, we have the green skirt, right? Then I was like, do we have enough fabric from the green skirt to make a jacket out of it, right? So it was more like looking which skirt I have more fabric in stock that we could actually make complementary jacket, right? And we had enough of the green one. And then for the trimmings, we actually used the trim. from the outfit which we used for her one of her Halloween costumes, I think.
Oh,
So it was just a little, like
yeah.
detail, right? But like it was again fabric which we already used before. And then yeah, but I mean it's in her closet. We can always reuse it because, it's a blazer and a skirt look, really. So if you just remove even the tie, right? Like you can just wear it on a daily basis,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So, and then the director's outfit, we were discussing it. Pascal sent me some pictures, and so she wanted to wear something like I think it was, I don't know if she sent me a picture, but she was where somebody was wearing a vest. But I know there was a beret, and I'm like, okay, well, we have a box of berets, so we can do that. And then it was again like looking like what fabric we have in our stock to make a vest out of to work with, like one of the skirts, right? Already existing skirts. And it was the red one. And then obviously, then I chose the blouse to go with it. And then we wanted to do something more bigger, like the bow, right? So we made that the bow, the black one, and that basically matched the black beret, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then the shoes to go with the whole look.
And then silent movie wise, we got to see quite a bit more in that episode from Opal, which was fun to see her kind of different. Did you design differently, like different costumes for Opal this season?
Well, we built her the new outfit, which was basically the outfit she wore during the fire,
Got it.
like scenes.
It was like
Because
she had a jumper on, right? Like a sort of a
she had
jumper.
a vest. She had a vest and
Oh,
the
that's
pants.
right.
Yeah,
Yes.
she had a pink vest and a pants. Um, so we built that because we needed multiples.
Got
And
it.
again, I wanted her in some other color. I think originally I actually was thinking she would be wearing something else, um, and then I decided for going with the pink, which is funny because I think the original the fabric was actually meant for Elizabeth at one point. I
But
mean,
we don't get
obviously,
rid of fabric, right? We never get rid of fabric.
well, but she never had anything made out of it,
Yeah.
so that's different.
Yeah.
So only I know. Well, now we know, but so we made her the multiple of that outfit, and then when she was in the episode with the silent film, and she had her special role, so I wanted her to be dressed, like just a little bit more professional, which meant that, like rewearing the pink outfit made kind of sense, and then I gave her another pant look, but we did it like with a little bit, like a different shirt, which had a little bit, like it was girly, but still like, she could boss people around.
Yep.
I mean, originally I would probably have her, we would probably, if we would have time, we would probably make her something, specifically for those scenes, but we just didn't have a time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so we just basically made work with what we
It
had.
worked. Yeah. And it worked, like I remember hearing from the director, who was it? Oh, and I was talking to Sarah Maberly, and she was talking about even during the silent movie, like the props that were set out, they were props. Like, it was something that Hope Valley was putting on. So for them to be in what they would be wearing anyway made absolute sense. So
I mean, for the silent film, originally, for whatever reason, they didn't want costumes to like they just didn't want it to be too much restraining on a budget.
yeah.
Like so so yeah, they didn't want me to spend too much money on the costumes for that episode. And I don't really know if they actually originally even wanted me to build a dress for Erin. Oh yeah, I think maybe the problem was we didn't have anything which we could actually use in their closets.
Mm.
So, like, we didn't have a dress which we could recycle for purposes of the silent film. Like, Elizabeth didn't have anything like in her entire closet, which would basically work, right? So, it would have to, like, there wasn't an option to recycle something, so we had to build something. So, there was a dress we actually tried on Erin earlier in the season, and I did like it, but it didn't really had a purpose because the way it was, it just we couldn't use it, right? So when we were doing the silent film, I was like, okay, well, this is like the perfect because it's like light yellow and it has beautiful embroidery. And, also the way it was cut, like the original, like the dress, it was possible to put it on multiple people because it was like, string, which basically, like adapts to a different size. So it
Yeah.
was perfect for, Andrea as well. And then we had to reconstruct it. So I had a petticoat, which had really, like, I couldn't really actually find like a lace which would complement that dress. So we had a petticoat or a skirt which had really nice lace detail on it. And that's basically what we used for the sleeves and then the lace on a skirt part because that was added to the dress. And then during that, like during 1920s, and there is a specific name for this dress, but basically the shape which we ended up with was really fashionable during that time, right? So it's almost like a small version of like when they wear the panniers in Rococo period, but it's like a smaller version of it. So I really wanted to do something a little bit bigger and different silhouette, right? So we actually had to build like the undergarment for it as well. Like it had ruffles and tools, just that this dress stayed the way we wanted it. And then we had to build, I think, slip too, because the dress which we used as a base, like it was too low neckline. So, and then there was the flower detail, which also was popular during the 20s. So that was actually possible to remove it and from one side to another because we didn't know like which side is going to be showcased, right, on the camera. So I wanted it to be able to basically it was unpinnable, right? So if the other side would be showcased, then if we would move it to the other side. So so that was really yeah, that one was a fun one. Like I like when you kind of, find a piece and then you kind of like make it part of something completely different.
That one was gorgeous. But I know even they shared, I think it was Andrea that shared some pictures after the fact, which gave us an even better look at it. And it was beautiful.
Yeah, I have
So
some pictures. I just didn't get a time to share it.
you get, you know,
Share them.
they're coming, right? They're coming. Once
Maybe,
you once you
maybe,
can
maybe
breathe
in
a
10 years.
once you can breathe a little bit. Um, I also like, I feel like I know we saw a new dress on Edie, and you've talked about intentionality. Am I wrong, right? Like it feels like, we're letting Edie loosen up a little bit. We're going to put her in something a little less businessy. Was that the thinking, or did I just create that in my head?
No, I mean, definitely. Well, because of the fire, and like, that's one thing which we actually discussed that the certain characters which were affected by the fire, they didn't lose everything in a fire.
Yeah.
Because we just couldn't, right? Like it is wardrobe is so beautiful, like the pieces we actually have that they are kind of how do you call it, irreplaceable.
Yeah.
So we, and even like with budget wise, we couldn't just do an entire
Mhm.
new wardrobe for her, right? So
Yeah.
so she did had a new pieces which were a little bit less businessy like,
Mhm. Mhm.
but also because like I didn't want her to get new pieces. Like I think she started in a new blue dress because I think it was the scene with Lucas.
Mhm.
But now I'm thinking, yeah, I think it was that dress because she had like light blue dress, but we also did the hat look for
Yeah.
her. And I don't know if it was the hat look which actually we opened the season because there was a look she wore
She had a
and
hat on at the beginning of the season,
yes, so
and then
that
she
was
had on
when
that new dress when they were
yeah.
moving the furniture.
Yeah. So that basically there was a question of either she would be wearing that blue dress or the hat look for when he's going to run the light, right? So we did the hat look for the running the light, and it was just, like something she already had existed, she already had in her closet, but elevated. I originally wanted her to wear actually different blouse, But the blouse was made out of a dress. And it was funny because there was this dress we bought, and what they do today is that all the dresses are too short in a bodice. So when we did a fitting, we basically put this dress underneath the skirt. And it was fine, everything fitted, right? But as soon as we removed the skirt and then we just kept the top part, and we did actually added a chunk at the bottom, but because the skirt was actually pulling the top so low that as soon as we didn't have the weight of the skirt, then the top was too short. So, so I was very sad because it was like, yeah, like it was just this, my mom did this blouse out of this dress, and and then we didn't realize like how much, like removing the weight of the
Right.
skirt is going to change, and it honestly like was just too short. So then later on, she's actually wearing the blouse out of the skirt because we basically had to recut I wanted the blouse actually,
Yeah.
so we needed
Yeah.
to recut the skirt.
We got a really nice surprise at the end of season 13. We think that the ending scene is the four of them walking through the field, and we have a car that drives into Hope Valley, and Abigail shows up. So, can you talk about getting an outfit ready for her for that ending scene?
Well, it's funny because we actually shot her scene when we were prepping 1874.
Got it.
So originally we were supposed to shoot it earlier, but we did end up shooting it. And yeah, so I talked to Lori about the outfit for her, and we didn't want to do anything. We basically recycled one of her old outfits. And that was the plan. And
Mhm.
that's something what was discussed with the network as well. She's not going to get a new outfit. And then when we did the fitting with Lori, then we discussed, okay, so does she want to have shorter skirts? Because, all the characters have shorter skirts. Except of obviously we still have some which don't, right? Like, Minnie doesn't have shorter skirts, and Florence still has some long skirts as well. So it's not like everybody is, like we have like different variations of lengths. But so me and her discussed during our fitting that she wants to just arrive in her old style, and then hoping that the writers actually can write some makeover scene for her in season 14. So basically, Rosemary gets her hands on her skirts and does something.
Love it. I love it. Okay, so now that the season has wrapped, do you have something? I mean, we've talked about this a little bit. Do you have something that you're really proud of?
Oh, you mean from Wrinkles the Heart?
Yeah. Before we shift to 1874?
Um, yeah, I don't know. Like, like we put so much work into every season, right? And
Sometimes
every
it's the cumulative. Like I know last season you were that making that Gatsby dress happen was a big deal.
yeah, but like it wasn't my favorite outfit. Like I
True.
know like other, people liked it, or it had its moment, but for me, as much as it worked and I was really happy of the outcome, I would probably prefer making something from scratch completely,
Yeah.
which we did end up doing. But also with the beadwork, which, the dress, which we ended up using, like we couldn't do that. Like that takes like days and weeks and months
Yeah.
sometimes, right? Like if you actually do that in like a, like the costume shop, right? Like if it's specifically for a show. So I mean, I think like I don't know. I mean, I'm just glad when things work out.
You survived, right?
Yeah. So, I know, yeah, I think I'm right. Just like, like we are very still, like we are a small team, right? Like I have a very small team, right? So,
Yeah.
and everybody is working really hard. And, you know, and going through up and downs of whatever we are thrown into, right? So I think it's just you're just happy when, like everything works out at the end and, there is no any errors or, nothing major happens or occurs, right? So,
Have you bought anything for season 14 yet?
yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, not much, but yes, I bought something. I don't know if we are ending up using it, but we'll see.
We'll see, right? It's because I know you've shared like you're always looking for things. So if you see something and it catches your eye, you grab it, especially
Yeah, yeah, we bought some fabric.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I knew like if I don't buy it now, and it's always like you're like looking at it and you're like, should I, shouldn't I? But like if you don't, then it will be a problem, especially if like another season is coming, right? Like if you are not sure, then it's different. But sometimes like there's certain stores you can still return stuff, like later on. Not all of them, but like there is, certain ones, like Winners, you can still return it for store credit later on. So it's kind of like a safe bet if you find something. And I usually find stuff there, like for fabrics. So,
Got it. Barbara, it is always a delight to talk to you. It's just crazy to think about all that you guys with When Calls the Heart, with Hope Valley 1874, the work that your teams put into it to bring both of those series to us. And it's always so fun to hear all the behind the scenes. And also to know that you're already buying things for season 14. So that's got to be exciting. Thanks so much for joining me. And I hope that you get a
you.
nice little break soon.
I will. I will try.
Well, best to you and bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.